I'd like to introduce Corine Meijers. She's another one of the experts on the lab. She'll be helping guide and advise researchers developing immersive and interactive projects. Corine is a producer at Studio Biarritz, who honed her skills at the acclaimed Dutch interactive production studio Submarine Channel. She's produced numerous award-winning virtual reality experiences, interactive documentaries and transmedia projects. Hello, Corine.
Hello, everyone. A pleasure to be here with all of you, and the very inspiring sessions that I heard before me. Let me see. I will also share my screen. Should be able to see the website now. I created my film production company 3 years ago. And I have been lucky to already release 2 projects, a linear documentary called I'm a Bastard and the virtual reality experience called Symbiosis. And before I created my own company, like Mark said, I was working with the production company Submarine Channel, where I worked for 8 years, and I produced multiple interactive documentaries. I would like to show you 2 of those, because I think it is worth to also see how those projects work, what collaborations are behind it, what the topics are that we chose, and also how the users are able to navigate through the stories. And I think for me, coming from the film industry, telling the stories and the navigation and also the user experience is very interesting and important. So that is something as well that I would like to work on during the lab with you, based on the topics and the stories that you are working on, of course. The first project is a project called Bistro in Vitro. Bistro in Vitro was a cooking book first, made by Kurt van Mensvoort. He's a philosopher with the organization Next Nature Network. And together with Kurt, we wanted to change the cookbook into an interactive documentary. And we wanted to create this futuristic restaurant called the restaurant Bistro in Vitro as a speculative futuristic restaurant in which you are able to choose in vitro meat items in the menu. So at that time, in 2014-15, there was a scientist in the Netherlands, Mark Post, who already created the first in vitro hamburger. And Kurt van Mensvoort, he wanted to inspire the audience to also think about what you could cook yourself if in vitro meat was available already in the supermarkets, and would you be willing to eat it, and what can you then make with it? And that's why he first made the cooking book. But in order to also reach a larger audience and reach the audience in a different way, we created together this speculative restaurant. And I will start by showing you the trailer.
Welcome to Bistro in Vitro. Our speculative restaurant explores the meat of tomorrow. Bistro in Vitro specializes in lab-grown meat, meat produced without having to slaughter the animal. Take a look at our menu and decide what you would eat if in vitro meat becomes available. Select from spectacular dishes such as the knitted steak, the teppanyaki from our in vitro aquarium, or the friendly foie gras. Not sure if in vitro meat is your thing? No problem. You can find out lots of information here on the story behind lab-grown meat. Learn what food critics think about the future of meat consumption in our review section. Or see top chefs explore the possibility of lab-grown meat in our chefs section. Don't forget to book your table as soon as possible. We strictly serve food for thought and take reservations from January 2028.
Wanted to show you as well how we included this. I will share again my screen. I think it should work now. So we when we produced this interactive documentary, we decided to build it in a format where it could look like a real restaurant. And because it's a futuristic story as well, we wanted to play with this idea. We presented the project as like the first lab-grown meat, and we used that also as the first lab-grown meat restaurant. We used that as well in our campaign. So we tried to attract the audience, but also the media to become curious about the restaurant. When people enter our documentary, our website, we ask them to, let me put it in English, we ask them to choose like a starter, and that's a way to navigate through the menu. So this is a little bit different. Normally you decide your menu, of course, when you come to the restaurant, but this time we want you to already look at it while you make a reservation, and then you can find out more about the different items. We also like you to look at some of our additional information that we have. We, for example, have different chefs talking about what they would cook if they were able already to cook in their own restaurants with lab-grown meat. So they comment on if for them it would work or not and why. And there are some scientists as well talking about it. We, at the moment, we released the project in 2016, and the project is still very interesting. We still have a lot of visitors. I think as well the thematics are very important still, of course. And we still have sometimes phone calls from people that want to make a reservation in our restaurant. So we wanted to play with this speculative idea also to attract the curiosity of people. There's another project that we made called The Industry, mapping the Dutch drug industry. And that's more like a journalistic project that I would also like to share the trailer with you. We made this interactive documentary, but we also created a podcast and a linear documentary and a VR project. So it's multidisciplinary.
News items on intercepted barrels of coke in Dutch harbors, dismantled ecstasy labs in suburban areas, or wheat farms in attics are published on a daily basis. The Netherlands is the #1 drugs country in Europe. Weed is in our genes, coke enters the country through our harbors, and ecstasy is as Dutch as chocolate sprinkles. What most non-Dutchies don't realize is that the vast majority of our trade is not regulated, let alone legal. How is it possible that in a regulated country like the Netherlands, drugs can be produced and traded on such a large scale? Who are the people behind the business? What makes them tick? Meet the housewives, students, dock workers, and full-time coke dealers that keep this industry going.
With this project, we researched for about a year to investigate how this whole drug industry was related to each other. If you are entering the project from the Netherlands, we ask you to fill out your postal code, and then you will enter the region where you are based, or at least the region where the postal code is. So you might enter the project in Amsterdam or maybe in Groningen in the north. But for the English version, we assumed that, of course, you will be traveling to the Netherlands by plane or by boat or by car or by train. So you can enter the project by the way that you arrived. You will see some news articles. Every color has its specific drugs. We created this wheel. So there are different jobs that people, or functions that people had within the industry. And we want to show that it's actually very nearby, but not always in the dangerous situations, because there are also people who only do like a little job within the bigger job. And we have interviewed 16 people, and we decided to
When I was young, as
scan
an
them.
adolescent, I lost my dad at a young age, and my mom was not really around. And I had a stepfather who wasn't there for me either, so I felt very alone. I read lots of books. Allen Ginsberg, Jack Kerouac, Hunter S. Thompson, they were my inspiration.
There are different interviews that I will not show at the moment, but I wanted to show that you can listen to this interview, and then after the interview, you can decide to go to another interview at the bottom, but you can also decide to watch a short animation that gives you additional information. And there's also a way to go back to the map, or there's a way to go back to the wheel to choose a different function. So this is a way that we decided to tell the story and to present this project within this kind of user interface. And for every project, that is a different choice. But it's very interesting to see how you can make choices in that, and you can decide, depending on your project, how to make it. Within my own company, I have created together with Polymorph, a design collective in the south of the Netherlands. We have created a project Symbiosis, and we are going to tour that internationally now. And we were at the ITFA, the Documentary Film Festival, a couple of months ago in November, and we won the Creative Technology Award there. And it's a project, a multi-user, multidisciplinary, a multi-user, multi-sensory project with soft robotic haptic suits and smells and taste. And I would like to show you the trailer with a short interview of Marcel van Brakel and Mark Nieuwenhoort, the two directors, to give you an impression about how the project is built. Let me see how I can. Yes, I will share it again. Okay, here you go.
Symbiosis is a kind of thought experiment in which we want to investigate what might happen if we leave the more human-centric view of the world and change that into a more symbiotic relationship of humans with other living entities. If you want to live in a symbiotic way with other living animals, maybe you cannot eat them anymore. So how do you solve the fundamental problem of feeding yourself as an organism if you want to respect the life of others? So you have like 5 characters differently that are in this symbiotic world and experience different dilemmas, different problems, different solutions. You have to kind of wear this complete, oversized, very heavy, very alien suit that is, in a way, it is enabling you to survive in another virtual reality. At the same time, it's a portal to this world. So I like that idea that you have to kind of gear up to start your journey into the unknown. First, we use like soft robotics to kind of alter the human body shape. So we have like shape shifting, and we sometimes do that with the robotics. Sometimes we do that just constraining the body on different positions. That's the first thing. Then we also use soft robotics to enhance emotional state, and we use smell and hormones even to kind of facilitate connection between people. And as a final step, we also use taste. So we have like food snacks designed by Carpendonkshoeve, a Michelin star restaurant, to fit the VR world and have a specific tasting in relation to the story.
The whole system is actually connected to you by what you breathe. So these technologies breathe in air, and it's the same air you breathe in as a human being. And I think we also like that idea of having this coexistence with these hard technologies, so to say, and via this soft material that we call air, So that's also a very interesting connection and sort of a symbiotic relation with these technologies that you don't see at first glance, I think.
Changing the body into a non-human shape and a non-human expression opens the world to new ways of thinking about reality and about how we can understand reality.
What we get back from people doing the experience, they have some time, they need some time in the beginning to adjust to the new situation. That's of course also because of the VR and audio and everything that's going on. And then when they're adjusted, they're gliding into their role and actually letting go and experience the story.
I remember the itchy pain sensations and grinding sounds of intestines pathfinding away inside my body, waking me up in the middle of the night, even when I was sedated.
My body is a tongue. I lick the wind to taste the spring. I lick the salty soil to hear its weeping.
There is no way back. I must join the sisters.
It's a thought experiment to kind of trigger thinking. It's not an answer. It's a new open space to think about it, to explore about. We try to also make an experience or a future world that's not perfect. It's also not dystopian, but it has its beautiful elements. It has its backdrops. We will evolve, we will change, the world will change, and we will always have troubles, and we will always have beauty and love and understanding, but in a different way.
We are now going to show Symbiosis at the Netherlands Film Festival in 2 days. So it's our third festival where we will be able to show it in the Netherlands. And after that, we will go to Portland, to the Pumpcut, to the Design Museum, the Center for an Untold Tomorrow. So we're going to stay there for 3 months, and hopefully that is going to be the start as well for an international tour. So we hope that we can really bring it to the audiences as well, because of course with virtual reality that sometimes is a bit harder, especially with an installation like the installation Symbiosis. What I think is very interesting with this interactive and immersive field is that you are often working with people from so many different disciplines, artists, scientists, but also with photographers or theater makers or musicians or game developers, designers. And I think that actually is very, very interesting and very appealing for me as well as a producer. And that are the projects actually that I would like to produce in my own company. And I think you can learn so much from each other, and the way that you talk about the different subject matters and the way you can really create your experiences, your films, your projects. I think that is very fascinating. And yeah, I look forward to be part of this lab and also explore the possibilities for your projects. And I give the word to Mark and Donata again, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Corine, and thanks to all of our wonderful speakers.